Hi, this is Vince, and welcome back to my podcast. So, today I'm going to talk very openly about many of the various types of risks that are involved in starting and running a business. So, you might be in a situation where you could be in a very well paying job, and there's been this little itch that's been bugging you for some time saying, you know what, I really want to venture out onto my own. Good for you. I'm glad you have that itch. And so you're thinking that, I do have some savings. I hope you have some savings. And I'm thinking that this is now the right time to venture out on my own. Fantastic. And let's call that a risk. This is a risk that you're thinking and willing to take to jump into your own new business. It could be another example. You could be in an established business, but now you are faced with a decision that you might be thinking about buying a bunch of equipment that is going to expand your business opportunities. You might be thinking of expanding your workspace, your office space, your warehouse space, and you need to take on a lot more space. You might be thinking about taking on more employees. These are all different types of risks that are associated with running a business. And good for you that you're thinking about these risks and that you're watching this video, because I'm going to try to analyze the various types of risks that you might be facing, and you'll, quite frankly, as a business person, always continue to face. And let's talk about them one by one. Let's talk about motivation risk. Do you have what it takes to run your own business? So if you are going to be leaving that well-paying job, do you have what it takes to knock on doors, to come out of your comfort zone big time, and do what it takes now to go from a very good salary to zero and relying on your family savings to build a new business? And let me tell you that running a business, this is not an overnight thing. And I hope that you don't have the impression that it's an overnight thing. We hear all these lovely things in the press about, oh my God, here's a company that's come out and they are a unicorn and they are expanding like crazy. Well, they're called unicorns for a reason. And the reason is that unicorns are very rare. So building a business is long term. I went through the situation where I left a well-paying job to start off in my own brand new business. And I could tell you that it took me about at least 3 years to stop thinking about whether there was going to be enough money to pay myself at the end of the week. Would my employees go home with a paycheck before me? And usually that was the case because I wanted to make sure that they got paid. So you're looking at a few hard years of hard work. Well, quite frankly, business is always hard work, but in that first phase of getting your business up and running, there's a lot of work, and it's going to be on your shoulders to make sure that you work the hardest. And you could be working day and night to get this done. Now, let me give you a little bit of comfort. Here's the good news, is that if you have the right motivation, you have the right skill set, you're a hustler, you can get out there and you can find the business or know somebody, have a partner or whatever that can hustle and find the business. The good news is that after time, it's worth it. Being in business for yourself is one of the best things that I have ever done. And it's something that I could never go back to working for someone. So yes, there are risks, but as long as you're willing to work extremely hard, analyze the risks, and know what you're getting into, there's always a really, really good rainbow at the end of the journey. So let's get into it. And I'm going to try to talk about the most common ones. As an example, financial risk. Number 2 would be reputational risk. 3, operational risk. 4, relationship risk. And then, of course, there's timing risk. And these are all different risks that every business owner, every business operator will eventually come across in their day-to-day running of their business. So let's talk about financial risk to start off with. Let's assume that you want to buy some equipment for your business. Or let's say you might be looking at an office property or a warehouse that you want to lease for your business, that this is something that your business needs. And when you go to the bank or when you go to the landlord, and especially if, well, you you might be a new business, or you could be really almost any business. Typically, you would be asked to provide some sort of guarantee for that loan or for that lease that you're about to sign. The guarantee could be a corporate guarantee. In other words, the lender may ask you to put a guarantee on your corporation, on your company, to make sure that if it doesn't get paid, that they can go after the revenues of the corporation. Sometimes it could be a personal guarantee, and you've got to be very, very careful with those, where after they've tried to satisfy the corporate guarantees, if you're still not able to pay and honor the commitments of your loan, they may want to go after you personally and after your personal assets, like your house, like your cars, and so on. So that could be a very, very scary thing, a personal guarantee. Now, let's say that you're asked to provide a financial guarantee like that. Well, number one, the first thing that many business operators do is they will look at the risk and say, is this something that I can handle? And in the later part of this video, I'm going to talk about things like operational risk, which is really, really important when it comes to making really important before you sign up to any financial risk. But let's assume now that the bank or a leasing company is asking you to put up a guarantee. Well, the first things that you want to do is you want to be able to negotiate that guarantee. And what does that mean? Well, as an example, one is that can you somehow not have to do a guarantee, but perhaps if you have some extra financial resources, could you put up, say, a term deposit as a guarantee? So in other words, you might have some money sitting aside that perhaps you have invested for the company or you personally. But what you've done, what you can do is you can assign that term deposit to the lender, and should you fail to pay, that they would have recourse against that term deposit. That's one option. And that might be one way to completely avoid any corporate or personal guarantees. If you don't have that option, if you don't have the benefit of having surplus money hanging around like that, then what you want to do is to be able to negotiate an exit from those guarantees. And what does that mean? Well, for example, if you're a new business and you're looking at expanding and you need more warehouse space, you can negotiate with the landlord to say, look, once my business revenue stabilizes after I've moved into this, I want this guarantee to disappear, and I'm happy to show you my financials to show that my financials are solid. There could be a timing guarantee that says I'm only going to guarantee this particular loan for a very specific period of time, perhaps 6 months, a year, or whatever. This, obviously, the shorter, the better. The other thing that you can also do is, depending on what you are getting a loan for, if you're getting the loan to, let's say, buy some equipment, and that equipment is going to increase revenue. Again, this is another opportunity where you might be able to say to a lender that once I can prove that I've hit, say, X in revenue, then that guarantee is going to come off the books. Before you sign on the dotted line for a corporate or personal guarantee, make sure that you have negotiated as best as you can how to get that guarantee off of the books and off of your back. Secondly, make sure that you shop around. There could be some lenders that are out there that may be much more open to working with you and may actually ask for fewer in the way of guarantees. So shop around. There might be some government type of business incentives out there that you might be able to take advantage of, where perhaps there's a less guarantee, but you're able to get the financing that you need because perhaps there's some sort of government guarantee that comes in. There could be things like that out there that are there to help small business owners. Let's talk about operational risk for a moment. This is a huge area, a lot to cover, and it could mean a lot of different things. For example, one operational risk is making sure that you have the proper banking controls in place so that somebody just can't steal money from your business. Do you have two signatures for every check that's written? Do you have a proper control in place to make sure that only a certain amount of funds can be transferred without authority? So that is an operational risk that you want to make sure that you've taken advantage of, and not advantage of, but you've taken care of. Secondly, it could be employee type of risk, where have you made sure that your key employees have signed the proper legal agreements to ensure that they cannot hurt your business? Can they leave tomorrow and begin to steal your clients away? That is a big operational risk. And if you have the right agreements in place, such as a non-solicitation, a non-compete, and a non-deal, that will go a long way to making sure that somebody cannot steal your business from under your feet. And you know what? Another operational risk is, and this is before you take on that big loan or that big mortgage or that big extra office space, we have to talk about your ability to be able to execute on the business plan and growing the business. If you were a brand new business owner, and I'm going to pick on restaurants for a moment, I'm sorry, and you decide that you're going to go out and you're going to borrow money, or maybe even more riskier, it might be to put up your own life savings into the venture. You have to be 100% sure that you have got what it takes to execute the business plan to make this really work. You do not want to be on the hook for loans, and it could be loans to banks, it could be family members, it could be to friends that you've borrowed money from. And you've got to be really positive that you can execute the plan. And if you have people working with you, whether they're partners or whether they're employees, can they execute the plan? Are they the right people to have in place? It's an absolute key point, because you might try to do everything you possibly can, but you can't carry the entire world on your shoulders. And sometimes you do need other people that are going to have to come to the plate and help you. And you know what? Every business does come with its fair share of risks. It's just no way of getting around it. And the way that you can accept the risks, the way that you can manage the risks, will be absolute paramount to your business success. You know, another one that comes to mind is relationship risk and reputational risk. Let's talk about those two together. Relationship risk, what I mean by that is, if, let's say, your family members or perhaps some friends have invested with you in this new venture, or perhaps they've invested in your company, or they've invested in an investment, it could be an investment property. If that project does not happen for whatever reason, you do have a relationship risk. Are you going to be upsetting close family members, losing friends over this? This is something that you really, really want to be careful of. Personally, my own opinion is that I try to avoid working with friends and family members, especially when it comes to taking a loan or taking their money to put into a business. So if you can, try to avoid friends and family members when it comes to investing in your business. Not always an easy thing to do. And quite frankly, I've broken that rule, and I'm probably going to break that rule very soon again. But you have to make sure that all parties go into any relationship with all their eyes open, of course, their two eyes open, and they have a full understanding of what the expectations could be, and that could be the good and the bad and the ugly. So make sure that you deal with that. Don't walk around with rose-colored glasses and tell everybody it's going to be absolutely great. You do have to talk about downside. Reputation risk. If you happen to go, let's say, again, the worst case scenario happens, and let's say you go bankrupt. Well, that is a stain on your reputation, and not to mention on your financial history. It's going to be hard for you to get loans in the future. Even if you need to buy a car and get a loan to buy a car, that will become much harder to do if you have to go under a bankruptcy protection for your company. So that's what I call reputational risk. Another thing could be, depending on what kind of business you're in, you could be in a very small town, and if you went into business and took some clients away from a couple of other business owners in your area, what is your likelihood of getting a job now if your business has failed? Will that be tougher because of the fact that you've taken business away from some of these other business owners? So, something to be aware of as well. Let's talk about timing risk for a moment. So, what does that mean? Timing risk can mean what is the timing of your business venture? Is this a brand new idea, the new tech idea that is going to revolutionize the world? Or are you setting up a new plumbing operation, a new restaurant? So, what is the timing like? So, what I mean by that is that for certain things, let's say you're getting into the plumbing business as one example. Well, there might be a way that you should be able to test your ideas and your thoughts before you decide to leave a well-paying job and hang up your own shingle as a plumber. And what you can do is you can talk to prospective clients to say, hey, you know what? If I set up a plumbing business under ABC Plumbing, do you think I can count on you to move your business over? And ask them to please be 100% honest. Some of them might say yes, and some of them might say no. Now, take an example of an accounting firm. It's not that easy to switch accountants. And so, if you do want to get into the accounting business and you decide to go and talk to a few prospects, don't be surprised if some of them might say, "Gosh, darn it, Bill, you know what? It's not that easy to move over, and this is going to take weeks, if not months, worth of transition work. So I'm sorry, I'm not going to do that." But these are things that you need to learn before you take the leap. And so ask those questions and do your research at the beginning. Another thing you can do, if you can talk to some other business owners that can offer you an unbiased opinion on what you're thinking and what your business endeavor is going to be. And again, ask them, this is what I'm doing. I'm thinking of leaving a good paying job, or I'm going to be risking X amount of money with my existing company. Hey, do you think that this is a good idea? Have I thought everything through? And an experienced business operator who has seen a lot will really be able to walk you through a lot of different questions, a lot of soul searching questions, to see if you've been able to think about these beforehand. And if not, to make sure that you are thinking about those ideas before you take the leap. So make sure you reach out to some business owners and get their unbiased advice. Don't listen to the yes people. There's a million of them out there. You have to hear, again, the good and the bad. And so don't be shy to reach out to the right people.